Just as fast as the Carrera GT.
I love it. I love that you said that.
They started to create a secret, like, different version of the truck. And
what's the truck that we have today?
Famous autopilot story where I fell asleep behind the wheel. I have proof showing that this girl literally went straight into my front fender.
I'm here with my buddy Daniel. He has owned 2 Teslas in the past, currently owns a Model Y. We actually met not too long ago with a little run club over in Newport Beach. We're both living here in Orange County, and this is my buddy Daniel.
What's going on, guys?
So how many miles have you logged over your 2 Teslas?
So my first one I got was in 2018. It was a Model 3 rear-wheel drive long range. I had that for about 4 years, 135,000 miles. I drive a lot for my job, so that's why the miles are pretty high.
Which we'll go into of cost and savings, not paying for gas, maintenance, oil changes, etc. So you did 135,000 miles in your Model 3. Mm-hmm. How'd you like was that your first EV?
It's my first EV.
First Tesla, obviously. Yes. Okay.
And I came out of a F-150, so total opposite spectrum. Big, lifted, all the fixins to a small little EV sedan. So it's definitely an interesting transition.
Yeah, and then now you have Model Y.
I have a Model Y I picked up in January of 23, so just over a year old. I have about 40,000 miles on it now in just a year, which is, again, kind of crazy.
That's insane. So 135 in your Model 3, 40 in this.
175 total.
First and foremost, what was your expectations going into owning an EV and a Tesla?
I think the biggest thing I have to kind of start with first is that I was always like a big tech guy growing up. I was big into video games and I was super into that whole lifestyle. And the Tesla is kind of like the closest thing you could get to a video game on wheels. So I was really wanting one my entire life. From 2014, 2015, when I heard about it, I was dreaming of having one. And that kind of...
You were hooked.
I was hooked. It was my expectations. The self-driving, the big screen, the fast acceleration.
And you don't mind the minimalist display, the dash, where it's just the friggin' laptop almost, and then your steering wheel?
When you're very tech-forward thinking, if you're into tech, you kind of overlook that. You're just interested in that.
So I'm 32, as everyone knows, watching this. Actually, probably none of my subscribers will be watching this. Hopefully people will see it. Anyway, do you want to say your age or no?
25.
25, 32, so he's not too much younger. But
age is just a number, guys.
I agree. Love that. You've been a tech focused. So that part was the coolest part because
that's what got me.
It was second nature to you.
That's what almost got me into cars. I've always liked cars before Teslas, but getting into Teslas and tech, that kind of transitioned me into liking more ICE vehicles, being more of a well-rounded car enthusiast, not just a tech/Tesla enthusiast.
Gotcha. Industrial combustion engine ICE vehicle, which is a non-Tesla, non-hybrid. So Tesla is obviously EV. Yeah. Okay, now over 135,000 miles. Or with your truck, how much were you spending roughly per month on gas? Just
basic off the top of my head. This was back in like 2017, 2018 when I was driving almost as much as I am now. I was spending anywhere from $500 to $700 a month in gas at that time, which gas was cheaper.
Way cheaper
than it was now. Yeah. And I was paying for non-premium fuel versus
91 octane.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So now, so how would we break that down with savings? Do you know the savings?
I did. I did a little bit of homework.
Easy.
I did a little homework
Love
before
this.
So based on my mileage per month, I did roughly 3,000 to 3,500 miles a month.
Per month. Okay.
Let's just say 3,000.
Make it easy.
On the Tesla app, it shows you how much you're paying per kilowatt hour, which is that's how Tesla measures how many miles you drive per kilowatt hour.
Love the explanation.
And then based on that, the premium gas average right now is about $5 a gallon.
Yep.
In February of 2024.
Okay.
And
thank you.
My cost per kilowatt hour is about 24 cents. To break the numbers down, for me to drive 3,000 miles with that 24 cents per kilowatt hour comparative to gas.
To $5 a gallon. Yes. Okay, I like it. Okay.
My electricity right now is costing me about $250 a month. Again, I drive more than 99% of people.
Yeah. So wait, do we know the math on that?
Yes.
3,000 miles times $5 or...
So I'm comparing my car. I have a Tesla Model Y Performance, which is the highest end Tesla. It's kind of comparable to, let's say...
Highest end Tesla Model Y.
Highest end Tesla Model Y. We're getting to the Model X one
day.
Yeah. One day.
Hey, no, we want you in a Roadster, dude.
I know.
Little 2v2 action.
Truck too.
There we go.
For us car enthusiasts comparing similar vehicles in its range, we're talking like
20 miles an hour.
BMW X3M or X3 M40, Mercedes GLC 63,
I love
Porsche
that you did all this
Macan.
homework. This is awesome.
These are
what
cars.
do those get miles to a gallon roughly?
So what I did a little bit of homework. It was around low 20s to high 10s. So for
High teens,
simplicity,
okay.
high 10s, whatever.
It's,
teens.
it's all right. It's all right.
For simplicity, let's just say 20 miles per gallon.
Perfect. Okay.
So I did 20 miles per gallon equivalent.
Yeah.
That would cost me about $700 to $800 a month in gas.
And you're spending $250 in electricity
to drive that equivalent amount of money.
Okay, so $450 less.
Is about $500 I'm saving.
$500 less
in fuel, roughly.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's car payment.
That is a car payment. Most car payment. I think the used car payment now in America is $536.
Wow.
So I think I just looked that up the other day.
Crazy.
But okay, so what is it like charging at the charging network? And you could explain the charging network of Tesla if you've done any road trips and or any funny stories that you have shared with me in the past. He has a lot.
So to break things down about a Tesla, before you even consider buying a Tesla, you need to have a home charger of some sort. If you do not have one, it is not worth owning. You are going to be spending too much time at the public chargers.
Okay.
A lot longer than gas. We'll get into times roughly later.
Okay,
but,
love that. So key factor of owning a Tesla or any EV is to have an ability to charge at home.
Yes.
Or else don't even bother.
Don't even bother.
Okay.
It's just not convenient. You're going to be wasting time, and time is money at the end of the day. So.
Love that business guy right here. He owns and operates. Okay.
Yeah. So at my apartment that we're at right now, there is EV chargers there. So every night I get home from work or whatever I end up doing, I plug it in, and then I wake up the next day, and it's roughly fully charged.
Now, do you pay for that?
I do.
Okay, so they do know that it's you.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a third-party company. They install the chargers at the apartment I'm in, and I pay the third-party company.
Awesome. Okay.
So you can either charge at your house, which is even more convenient. If you have a garage, you could just pull it into your garage, and then you pay the electricity, which will end up being cheaper.
Yeah.
Because I'm using a third party. The third party's got to make money somehow.
Yeah. So my brother-in-law Steven has a Model Y, and they did the wall charger.
Yeah.
It's like 40 to 42 miles per hour of range per hour of charge. Anyway, he has that on his garage, so he pulls it in his driveway, he puts it on, and they thought about getting solar, so that's even cheaper. So my buddy who has a Model Y, he has solar, and he charges at home, and he's like less than $100 a month to go. Now, granted, he's not driving 3,000 miles, but he's like, it's next to nothing. Solar and
so something to point out too, I live again at an apartment with a third-party charger. I'm paying roughly 24 cents per kilowatt hour, which is actually pretty expensive because I'm paying a middleman's got to make money.
Yes.
If you're living at a house, you're paying strictly to your electric company, like how you are with these lights or your refrigerator or something.
You are very nice.
So
this is very
it's
good.
pretty much.
So what's a typical kilowatt?
My mom has owned an EV
Love
just as long as I have. She has a Rivian right now.
Okay.
And her cost per kilowatt hour roughly is in the low 10s, like anywhere from like 10 to 13 cents.
Oh, so half.
Yeah,
not even.
Because she could charge during off-peak hours. She has certain price incentives for going with like San Diego Electric, whatever.
Okay, so in theory, your $500 would be more.
Yes,
substantially.
So if I move into a house in the future, it'll cost me less money, which is the goal. Is the goal. So we'll see.
I love that. Okay, any funny stories at charging stations?
So I've dabbled in a lot of Tesla superchargers in the last 5 years of owning Teslas, and honestly, the biggest kind of funny thing I see is just all the new adoption in the last couple of years. Like
new owners?
New owners. They just don't know how the cars work.
Okay.
And sometimes like I'll be in my car just playing with my phone or whatever, and I'll see an individual that just doesn't know how to even open the charge port door, or like they're like, I just see them in the car looking confused. So someone that's been doing it for 5 years, I offer my help. I say, hey, is there anything I can do to help?
I didn't know you did. Okay, that's very nice of you. Also, Daniel is like one of the nicest, most uplifting, most positive individuals, hence why we got along so well. He was the first person that I met at this run club that I went to. August 9th, 2023. First guy I shook hands with.
So to extend on that, back in 2018, 2019, I was kind of like in the novice stage. Like there was not many Teslas on the road.
Comparatively to today.
Because where we live in Southern California, every other car is a white Tesla.
Literally he's not kidding about that. Like I've had
Model 3, Model Y.
It's everywhere. You're at an intersection, 6 Teslas, no problem seeing? Yeah. So you had a Tesla, actually we forgot about that. We discovered that. I worked at Tesla in 2018.
Yeah.
You got your first Tesla in 2018.
September 2018.
I started Tesla October of 2018. So that's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, to continue on what I was saying, in 2018, 2019, you didn't see a lot of them on the road. And I would actually get like stopped pretty often at like EV charging stations or just parking lots, and people would ask like, "Is this Tesla? Like, how does this work?" And they'd be like, "Is this a hybrid? Is this an EV?"
No way.
Then I would open up like the front trunk, and they're like, "Where's the engine? Like, where's the batteries?" And they
What?
just are so clueless on the car.
Wait, wow.
And just seeing like the little credit card thing as a key. There's no like actual key. Like this phone right here is your key to your car. You can remotely like start the car through your phone and do everything through the phone.
Okay.
It's practically.
And you said it tracks all your mileage, your spending, you can access your odometer. Everything.
Track the vehicle. You can open things. If you have like the full self-driving package, you can even like move the vehicle. The car will like pick you up in a parking lot, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's FSD. Like
full self-driving.
Yeah.
$12,000 add-on at checkout. So if you're feeling like it,
pony up, get it.
Pony up.
Elon will like. Do you have any full self-driving? Which part do you guys?
I pay $200 a month for the full self-driving.
Oh wait, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So when you buy one, when you buy
a
a Tesla, you can pay the $12,000 up front, or you can pay $200 a month as a subscription.
That's
and
actually,
you can cancel it on or off, which
Wow,
I personally
that's
do
really cool.
because I kind of go through phases where I want to use it, and I have phases where I don't want to spend $200 a month.
Okay.
So kind of based on that. So.
Okay. So when you got in 2018, it was very like new.
Yes. So again, a lot of people that had them back then were tech-forward people. I'd say more like.
More so than today's owners.
Yes, more so millennials, maybe later Gen Zs, like 20s to 30s, maybe 40s.
Okay.
Now it's so popular now, people are looking at it as a cost savings effect. And so now you're getting into like our parents per se. And my mom got one fairly recently, and now I see older individuals that are driving it, which again, technology is still kind of a new thing.
Totally,
so their transition is much harder versus a Gen Z like myself. When I taught my mom how to do her first Tesla, she had a Tesla Model X in 2019, just a year after I got mine.
Okay.
It took her a month to figure it out. And I had to show her every single button in the screen. She would call me like on the side of the road crying. She's like, I can't open the car. I can't do this. I can't do that.
So the learning curve to an older generation would be a barrier to entry potentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Because again, like their generation, they didn't grow up with these phones. I was in the iPad generation, fortunately / unfortunately.
Yeah, I like.
So this was a lot easier for me to transition. It's easier for me to transition to it versus again our parents.
Because I was born in '91, so I think my first technology piece in my hands was a Game Boy, and I would have been at youngest 9 years old but that's like Tetris and Snake. So anyway.
Yeah.
But that's so you're even like you grew up with technology.
I grew up with technology.
Yeah.
So again, it was very easy for me. Plus, I watched so much Tesla content. Like I mentioned, I was a big enthusiast a few years before I bought my first car. So I went into the Tesla pretty much knowing how the car worked.
Yeah, I love it because he actually came up with this idea, and then when you texted me like, "Hey, we should do this, sit down," I was like, "You read my mind."
Yeah.
You're in Big Bear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or going to Big Bear.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So now today's world, how Tesla's everywhere around Orange County, and the charging stations. Tell them. They run out of charge like right at the station.
Okay, so sometimes people are with the Teslas. Obviously, it's a percentage. Kind of treat the Tesla battery like your phone. If your car is at 0%, it's at 0. It's done. It's done. Like in an internal combustion engine car, if you're on E, you can drive on E for a few gallons.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty certain. You can drive 5, 10, 15 miles.
Yes, even on the normal cars, when it says 0 miles to empty, you can still go 10, 15, 20 miles depending on the car. So when it says 0, it's
And in the Teslas, it's funny because it's like at 20%, it sends you an audible beep. At 10%, it sends you an audible beep. And then
so it warns you.
It warns you constantly, and then it like limits power. You'll get messages saying like power reduced because of low battery and all this stuff.
How easy is it to find a charging station if you get that beep? How does that go? I know the answer.
The car gives you a notification saying find nearby chargers.
And you can just click?
Yes.
And it tells you if you're going to make it?
It'll tell you if you're going to make it, and where we live in Southern California, they're everywhere. But even if you live in Idaho or some state that's not as popular as here, you click the red button.
I love that you say Idaho.
Shout out to people in Idaho.
Yeah, this is funny.
We love you.
It's a good example. Okay, so it tells you.
It tells you.
You should have no reason to run out of charge.
And again, it's like these Teslas have so many miles. It's like if my car has about 330 miles on a charge. So even if I'm at 10%, I have 30 miles of range. I mean, I could go from Newport Beach, where we are, to LA.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
10% doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is.
Okay, so do you think because that's range anxiety. Do you think that is overplayed with a majority of... Okay.
Yes.
Love that you say that. So do you think, because that's range anxiety, do you think that is overplayed with a majority of... Okay.
Yes.
Love that you say that. So people freak out because they just don't know.
Range anxiety mostly comes from a lack of awareness of where to charge. That's where it comes into play.
Well said. Okay.
Because people, like, for instance, like when I first started, or especially my mom, when she first got a Tesla, she panicked every time she drove somewhere far from the house. She's like, I have nowhere to charge it. And then she would look down at her thing and it would say 73%. And I'm like, Mom, like, yeah, you're far from the house, but use basic math. If your car has 300 miles of range, you have 75%. That's
210 miles.
210 miles.
Yeah.
You could drive from Orange County and LA and back easily.
So I like that you brought that up, because sometimes when I work valet, we had a charging ability at the place that I was at, and someone would come and be like, do you mind if I'm charging? I'm really low.
Yeah.
And I'd always look, and like you said, it would be at like 28%.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, like, are you far from home? And they're like, no, I'm only 10 miles. I just don't want to run out. And I'm like, you're at 28. That's a quarter of a percent or a quarter of 100, and you're 10 miles from like, they're freaking out.
Yeah. And it's something, as you get used to owning a Tesla and you're used to seeing that battery gauge drop, you kind of build like a tolerance per se, like how much you're willing to go down. Plus, you need to plan just a little bit. Like you kind of need to have a rough idea of how much you drive in a day, or if you're doing a road trip, you need to kind of know roughly where the stops are. Do a tiny bit of homework. I mean, the car does the homework for you, but a couple minutes could save you from a lot of frustration or anxiety at the end of the day.
So can't you plug in a destination, and if it's further enough away that you will need to charge, how does that work?
So I've driven...
Like if you said here to Vegas.
Yes, so I've driven to Vegas a couple times with Tesla, and when you plug it in, it will base it based on the battery you have at the current state, and it will have you stop at chargers based on if you need it or not.
Okay.
Where I live to Vegas, you usually need to stop halfway through.
Okay.
And the navigation won't usually have you go from 100% to, let's say, 0. It will have you go from 100% to, let's say, 30. Because with the Teslas, the most important thing is the charging curve. The car can charge faster within 20 to 80% versus 70 to 100.
Yes.
Because the lower the battery, the more empty cells the battery pack has, and it can fill it up quicker and more juice can go into the battery pack. Just kind of dumbing this down right here for you guys.
Our way of explaining it, at least how they taught us at Tesla, I mean, Elon came up with a better idea, but basically if you have an empty glass, right, and I'm pouring from a gallon jug into that glass, the first 80% I can go quick. If I wanted to get it to the absolute top brim, which is 100%, I will slowly have to taper off the pour.
That's exactly a perfect way to explain it.
So that's how we explained it, and then everyone, they were like, oh wait, that makes sense.
So more importantly, there's like this big debate right now in the community of saying we need more range in these Teslas, because there's not a lot of EVs electric vehicles that
Which is not true, by the way.
There's not a lot of electric vehicles that go over, let's say, 300 miles of range. That's kind of like the standard right now, and people think I want 500, 600, 700 700 The problem with having that many miles is you need more batteries, and batteries are heavy.
Very heavy.
And you can't have a car that weighs 10, like the Hummer EV weighs 9,000 pounds.
I know, it's insane.
And it costs a lot of money too, and it takes a long time to charge, because when you have a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack, it takes 3 times as long as my Tesla, which has about an 80 kilowatt hour battery.
So that brings up a point. If you're just commuting to and from work, to and from the grocery store, to and from dinner with your spouse or your kids, like 300 is plenty.
Yeah, and especially because most people that are buying a Tesla, like I mentioned earlier, you should have a reliable home source of charging at your apartment or your house.
Yeah.
Again, most people drive 40, 50, 60 miles a day. Let's say on the high end, 100.
Yeah.
If you have a long commute.
Yeah.
You have 300 miles. So you could do all your work commuting, and then you could drive your kids to soccer practice. You can go to the grocery store. You could do what you got to go to the gym.
All without charging.
All without charging. And then you just plug it in at the end of the day, and you'll be fully back to 90%, whatever you charge it to.
Reliability. So with your truck, in doing 3,000 miles a month, roughly, oil changes were pretty often.
Very often.
Right? And how much would an oil change
every couple of months I would do an oil change.
That's a lot.
And then if it was a Ford F-150, so
not bad.
It wasn't too bad. It would be like $100 to $150.
Okay, but that every 2 months, that's 75 plus a month on top of
and also too, being an internal combustion engine, there's just more moving parts based on a little bit of homework I did earlier.
Yes, I love this. Go for it.
Every ICE internal combustion vehicle has roughly 200 moving parts, from the transmission to the engine to the gearbox, all that stuff.
Everything roughly 200.
And
Okay.
a Tesla, or an electric vehicle, roughly is about 20. It's about a tenth. Because essentially, if you think of a Tesla, it's like a glorified golf cart.
Yeah.
It's just a big battery with a motor that powers it. The battery
Yeah.
gives it the range, and the motor gives it the speed.
Okay.
And then you have a few fixins,
Yeah.
electricity for the screen, and
Uh-huh.
HVAC, whatever you
Uh-huh.
need.
Uh-huh.
So there's just less that goes down. So back to my Model 3, 135,000 miles. Nothing in that car broke. Besides one thing, the upper control arms. And the reason why
The
is
suspension component in the
Yes,
front?
Yes. The
Okay.
reason why they went bad is because Tesla at the time was transitioning from two different suspension components, so there was actually a recall on it.
Oh, okay.
Because they were apparently grinding on each other too much. Because the upper control arms, for the people that don't know, is pretty much the ball in the suspension. So if you look at the suspension, there's the spring, and then there's the little ball on top. The ball is what kind of compresses the spring.
To give it give over divots and bumps.
That
and
gives
bump,
up because
yeah,
also
roads.
with the Teslas, they're so heavy and there's
Yeah.
so much instant torque that you're wearing the springs at a much
Yeah.
faster rate
Okay.
versus like your BMW M3.
Yeah.
Because when you floor it in your car has to build up revs.
Yes.
And there's latency.
Build up power. Yeah.
My car has instant torque because it's like a golf car. You smash and you go wee.
Speaking of how is that comparatively to cars? Like so if you have X amount of torque, it's 100% instantaneous.
Yes.
You just go. Also one gear, so there's no gear, so you don't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
too.
so,
with
like-
your car, you have 7, 8, 9 gears. The Fords now have 10 gears.
On
It
the
just-
trucks, yeah.
It just takes time for it to go through the gears, especially depending on what speed you decide to floor at. It could be 20 in first
Yeah.
gear, or it could be 50 at second or third gear.
Okay.
Everything depends.
And then I have a manual, so you really notice the gear changes. But how is accelerating in a Tesla?
Well, it's insane.
It is insane.
When
It
I
is
first got
absolutely
when I got my
mind-blowing.
Model 3, it took me a while to get used to the jolt. Like when I was in my F-150, it wasn't the fastest car on the block. If I wanted to merge on the freeway, I had to push the throttle mostly in, and it
Yeah.
would build speed up 40, 50, 60.
Okay.
And I had to kind of if I wanted to pass somebody on the highway, I had to plan ahead. In the Teslas, it's you can kind of place yourself in a spot. Like if you're driving and there's a tiny little gap, you just wheat and you just go right in.
Wow.
Or in the freeway, if you don't catch yourself, you could go, I don't know, 60, 70 miles an hour. And if you're trying to make a quick pass and you kind of hold on to it a little too long, you'll be going
North of 100?
North of 100.
It's super easy.
Because, especially in the performance Teslas, my car has almost 500 horsepower and over 500 pound-feet of torque.
Equivalent, yeah. So instantaneous. You're
Yes,
going.
it's
You're
going.
moving.
I mean, the car does 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, which
That's
is just
so
as fast as the Carrera GT.
I love it. I love that you said that. That is actually true. It's
Full-fledged sports car from Porsche,
literally a
15 years
hypercar.
ago.
Yeah.
And this
05.
Mom-mobile I got could go 0 to 60 faster than it.
That's insane.
Yeah.
The comparison of a hypercar from 05,
Yeah.
and that, by the way, is north of $1 million, probably north of 1.3.
Even new sports cars, even a brand new G80 M3 with xDrive all-wheel drive, Model Y's faster.
Wow.
M5, it probably is just as fast as an M5 competition and
Yeah.
E63.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic of all these soccer.
Strictly from a straight line.
Yes.
You kind of veer into driving dynamics with a Tesla versus
That.
your BMW
With that.
With that. Obviously, there's a difference. The Porsche
Yeah.
Carrera GT can definitely take turns a little bit quicker.
Obliterate you guys on a track. But
Yes.
to your point, though,
Yeah.
so fast, mind-blowingly fast.
Mind-blowingly fast.
I remember, I mean, in the Plaid now, we used to call it P100D, but the Plaid
That's
Model S.
Nuts.
I've never, a roller coaster when if you've ever been on a roller coaster, instantaneous, you're gone. Think of that, but it's just pressing on your chest, you're pinned, there's people holding a phone here and then accelerating and letting go and it's staying on the seat. It's insane.
Going back to kind of catching yourself north of 100,
Oh, yeah.
I've been in a Plaid before, in Mexico, obviously, where I was doing he knows that joke, where you're doing a speed run.
Okay, I've actually have a video on my, that's why I'm laughing. So I have a video on my Model Y in Mexico. Anyway.
Yeah, but I drove a Plaid in Mexico, and it's just when you floor it, I was going street speeds, you're going 40, 50 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and you punch it, and it goes a quarter mile in 9 seconds stock, which is just nuts.
Oh my God.
And it could do the quarter mile at 150 miles an hour. So I went from 50 to, I can just say 125, and it took me less time to even like pull my phone out just to even see what I was doing, and I was already doing that speed.
Oh my
and it's
gosh.
like, even if you're trying to keep your like face forward,
Yeah. Oh, it's hard
with
the
the
G-forces. Yeah, dude, it's insane.
And what's really scary about it is even my car is not super. I mean, it's not cheap. It's like 50 grand, which is honestly the price of a new vehicle sold today.
Yeah.
What's really scary is these used EVs, like used Model 3 performances, are getting in the 30s. You can get plaids now used for 60, 70. Like if you give a rookie driver or a teen driver access to a plaid, he can really hurt himself.
Yeah,
you can't be ready for that much speed.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of buying and the price, $50,000. How are the tax benefits? Meaning,
okay, so
credits or tax.
Well, that was a good question. Let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
my Model 3 back in 2018, I had my car stickered at about $45,000.
Okay.
In 2018, at the time I bought my car, they were doing a different federal incentive. I got $3,750.
Federal?
Yes,
Or state?
federal. So
Federal.
in that next year's taxes, I got it off my taxes, my taxable income.
Basically, if you make $100,000 per year, just to make it easy numbers, and you got that $3,750, your taxable income would not be $100; it would be $3,750 less $100.
And then at the time, I got a $2,500 California rebate, which was a check.
Oh,
A check from California.
wait! So you actually got a paper check, like that you deposited into your bank
Yes,
account?
they sent it like a month later. It was a California local rebate at the time.
Wow.
At the time, the $45,000 went down to about $38,000 for my Model 3. Funny enough, I'll kind of go into it briefly. I sold my car during the car craze during COVID when used car prices were going crazy. I paid around $38,000 after incentives, 135,000 miles, pretty well used, really good condition.
Yeah.
You know how much I sold the car for? Take a guess.
Well, I think you told me on the way up or in Big Bear, but I don't want to ruin it for them. I don't remember that.
38,135.
So you
miles.
did you get north of 30?
No.
No.
I just got
Did you get north of 25?
Yeah, 27.5.
Oh my gosh.
So that car for 4 years, 135,000 miles, cost me about $11,000 to drive it.
11 grand.
11 grand to
In
drive
4
it.
years.
In 4 years, because at the time I sold my
Whoa.
car, EVs, electric vehicles.
It's basically $2,500 a year.
During the used car market, Teslas blew up in price so much.
Yeah.
Gas prices went crazy. Gas was in the
True.
6.
I remember that.
LA was almost in the 7s. It was
I know.
really
I
crazy
saw it
time.
in LA Shell. It had a 7.
Yeah, so at that time, Ford,
91.
Mustang Mach-E's, Teslas, all this stuff had crazy premiums on them. And I sold it just at the tail end of that market, which was very, very lucky on my end.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
to transition to my Model Y, my car was $54,000.
Okay.
And I got a $7,500 federal tax credit.
So $7,500 less your taxable income of that
it's
year.
A new
That's
federal
huge.
incentives. And
By the
then
way.
I got a $2,000 check from the state of California.
Oh my gosh.
$9,500.
$9,500.
And my electric company at my old house I was living at gave me a $500 credit.
Oh my gosh. So literally
$10,000
$10,000
off. $10,000 savings. So 40. So again, remember. So we're talking car enthusiasts here, like the cars I mentioned earlier: Porsche Macan, BMW X3, GLC.
Yeah.
To get a car that does the performance levels my cars does, you would have to talk about X3M, GLC 63. Those cars are in the 70s new.
Yeah.
Roughly 67.
And that's before tax, before maintenance down the line, before
and paying for premium
drop
fuel.
of residual value.
Yeah, those cars
Or
depreciate.
depreciation.
Like no other.
Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting value proposition. Like if you can have a place to charge and you're looking strictly for speed, that you can't go. The EVs are just the best. You can from strictly speed. Teslas are gonna not Teslas. Any electric vehicle is gonna be better than any gas car just because of the instant torque. Period.
Yeah. The overall experience, to remind you guys, 175,000 miles.
Yeah.
Over the course of since 2018. So for 6 years.
And many more to come because I'm gonna still keep it going.
Love that.
I absolutely love it.
Okay.
Again, I only have the luxury of having one car right now, and I think with the amount of driving I do and the type of enthusiast I am, where I just want the tech, the speed, and it's not the best looking car in the world, but it's far from ugly. It's
far from ugly.
It's right in the middle somewhere.
I think people hate on the look of Teslas a little bit too much. It's beautiful. Like, not gonna lie, I mean, again, I am very biased, and I'll admit that, because
looks are subjective.
Yes, that, but like I work for Tesla, so like and I also hate EVs, so it's kind of funny. But when the Model S came out, dude, it was beautiful.
Model S is the best looking Tesla they make.
By far.
Pure.
But like, it's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so your EV experience with 175,000 miles over those.
What's your opinion on the Cybertruck?
Okay.
It just came, which we'll veer for a second.
I love
but
that.
now
I love that you brought that up because we
because-
didn't even discuss bringing that up. You're so good.
Because
at
we're in
this.
Southern California again, the land of Teslas. We've been seeing a few of these Cybertrucks on the road.
We send them back and forth.
We send them back to each other, and it's like it catches your eye because again, like every car you see in the market is curvy, teardrop shape, or you have some trucks or whatever.
Yes.
And the Cybertruck with its crazy, like it looks like
it doesn't look like anything
it
else.
looks like a
on the road.
trapezoid on
Yeah.
wheels.
So I'll answer it. I'll answer it like this. I watched a video on a Cybertruck. Some person was actually, I think it was the video that you sent me that I posted that people thought it was me. Anyway, some person, you know, you can comment whatever you want to comment. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but his opinion or her opinion or their opinion was like, "Oh, it's a Tesla," like blah blah blah. Who cares? And everyone was like, "Yeah, but you're commenting." And then the comment was this in defense: "When's the last time you took out your phone, or everyone took out their phone?" And did that to a Camry or a F-150 or even, I mean, half the people don't even know what a Carrera GT if they saw a Carrera GT.
Nope. They'll just think it's some Porsche sports car.
Exactly. So in that, it's unlike anything on the road.
Nope. Yep.
And you know, the Tesla mission statement, if I'm remembering it correctly, is to accelerate the transition
to sustainable energy.
Accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy.
Yeah.
So they're doing something different. I respect it.
And you got to give the guy credit for creating something that he envisioned. He didn't Elon. Yeah, he mostly created. I read his biography that he posted a year or so ago.
Okay.
And he said he created this truck for him. And it's like, if people don't like the truck, I like it, and that's all that matters.
I like that you said that because my brother, you know, I've been doing YouTube coming up on 3 years total.
Yeah.
Still not monetized, and that's all right because, well, no, my brother told me this. He's like, "Hey, man, like you're sticking with it.
Yeah.
That's half the battle,
Yeah.
not giving up." But he basically said exactly that. He's like, "Are you doing videos that you would like, or are you doing videos to try to get views and clicks?" And I was like, "Shoot, I think a lot of it has been what would someone else think? Instead, I should."
If you're going down the same path as other automotive journalists, then you're kind of you're repeating information that's already out there.
Yeah.
But what makes you different is your personality. So at the end of the day, there's only so many ways I mean, like my EV experience is like a bunch of people's experience, and what I'm saying is a lot of people's. They've already said it online, but my experience is different than everybody else. So like personal stories, like I will kind of brief into briefly. Like again, the amount I drive and gas savings and like car enthusiast perspective. Not everybody talks about that. So just having a different outlook on things is what creates.
But like basically to your point of Elon, do it for you. Do what makes you happy. There's gonna be someone else that also is happy or like loves it as well. So I didn't know he actually created the Cybertruck for him. Meaning like, I love this, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's
and
really cool.
the engineers, funny enough, in the biography, when they created that prototype, he had this vision for it, and they rushed him to create this prototype. And the engineers did a secret design behind his back because they were so like embarrassed, or like they were like, this is not possible. Like from a manufacturing, from a production perspective, creating a vehicle like this is not possible, and the public is gonna think it's insane looking.
Yeah, which
they started to create a secret like different version of the truck. And
what's the truck that we have today? Not the same.
I don't think they ever announced what it was, but it was in the biography. And it was kind of interesting where
that's a fun fact. I'm gonna tease the intro of the video with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, so yeah, Cybertruck. I mean,
I don't know the exact details, but just a brief summary. That's kind of what it was. They did not like the design of it. They were secretly working on another project, and then Elon's like, we are sticking to this design.
Wow. I mean, and dude, it's selling. Like there's so many orders. There was an article. It was like whatever the headline was. It was like 20% have pulled their orders, but like the amount of orders that people put in was like, I'll actually have to get the statistics because I don't want to talk out of my you know what. But like people still want it.
Yeah.
People are still willing to pay, and people still want it.
I think on the end of the year annual report from Tesla, they mentioned that the Cybertruck is almost sold out for this year already in 2024. With
so they announced in 2023.
At the end of 2023,
what they will be able to produce in 2024 is almost sold out.
And they said with the reservations for the Foundation series that they are doing right now, they're almost sold out already.
Fun fact.
Once a year.
Didn't they contact you?
Yeah, I had a reservation for one for $100 back in 2019 when they were
fully refundable, by the way. Anyone can put a reservation on any Tesla.
I'm sure people that might follow Tesla, they might know that the prices were quite inflated. when they actually came out with the truck back in the.
Oh, when they announced it,
Yeah.
he said it would be X, and it was
it was like
substantially more than
40,000,
X.
50, and 70. Now it's 100,000 because of the
Yeah.
foundation.
Yeah,
series.
I think you screenshotted the price, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
So I initially was interested in one because
Yeah.
it was $50,000, and I was like, I could do that's my car's 50. I was
Yeah.
like, I can handle 50.
You can do
Now
it.
that same model is 80,000 plus the foundation series,
Which is
20,000, 100,000. I was like, I
Jeez.
can't do 100.
Yeah, and now, do you know if the Foundation Series is anything other than you get it first?
They slap on a few things like
Oh, they do?
full self-driving, a couple
Okay.
badges,
Okay.
some accessories, but
Okay.
I think mostly it's because they want to capitalize on the hype and make extra money, which
Yeah.
again, I don't blame them. I mean,
I don't either. Well,
why-
people are willing to pay it.
well, it's
you know?
like, why would they charge less for something when they know they can get away with charging more?
Respect.
That's a business 101.
Literally, if you can make more,
Yeah.
charge more.
So to talk more about my experience rather than the Cybertruck, let's transition really
Love
quick.
it, love it.
Pros and cons. My experience, 175,000 miles, 5 years. Pros, drivability. It's so easy to drive. Your phone's the key. You just walk up to the car. You don't have to fumble around with a key fob.
Okay,
You
like
just
that.
open the door handle. You sit in the car. You put your foot on the brake. Starts.
Love that.
It sounds stupid, but in your car, you gotta put the key in the thing, twist it.
Oh yeah, I have to
unlock
walk
the
up, I have to click, and then it unlocks just my driver door. Click
Yeah.
again for the passenger
thing.
door.
Sit in.
Open the door, sit,
Mhm.
key, clutch, in, start up. Yeah, yeah.
And then, you
It's
have
process.
to, and then if a lot of people want their cars to like warm up before
Yes.
they start driving. In the Teslas, you don't really need to do that. You could just put your foot on the brake, start driving, and you have. And what's funny too about performance, you have full performance at zero. Like right when you start the car, you can go 0 to 60 in 3.5 all day long, no
Oh,
problem.
yeah.
In your car needs to warm up.
Warm
Tires
up,
need to
yeah.
be warmed up. The engine
Yeah.
needs to warm up. It's an
Yeah.
interesting kind of thing to think
So
about.
now, speaking of warming up, like on a cold day or a hot day, can you set your phone to
Yep.
like, hey, turn on the AC 10
Yep.
minutes before I get in?
So with the app, it's the car tells you how much what the temperature is inside and what it's outside. So
Oh.
obviously, if you're in
Yeah.
cold climates and it's snowing outside, you can defrost the car to get the ice off the windshield.
Speaking of ice off the windshield, we should add your photo of your Tesla in, the snow as the thumbnail. That'd be kind of cool.
For somebody that's lived in Orange County their whole life, where I don't see a lot of snow, it's definitely interesting to go up to the mountains and see my car caked in snow, which is it was a cool thing.
Yeah. Okay, so you can cool down your car before you get in, or even get there.
Or you can
Or
heat it
heat it
up,
up.
or you can heat it up, which is insanely convenient because I'm sure we've all woken up on an early day for
Oh, yeah.
work or whatever. Your car is absolutely freezing. Your
Freezing.
car is hot. Maybe it's a
So
summer
hot,
day in
yeah.
California and it's hot. You can cool it down.
Yeah.
It makes livability very easy.
Yeah.
Secondly, is just smooth. Like its acceleration is
very
very linear. You can if you take your time with the acceleration, it smoothly goes up to highway speeds.
Uh-huh.
And it's quiet inside.
It's
the
very
suspension's
quiet.
pretty smooth.
It's very quiet.
The sound systems are great.
Dude, the sound systems are underrated. Oh my gosh, we were bumping the music with Taylor, Albert, and you and I.
Gangster rap music.
Dude, it bumps.
It bumps.
Dude.
Subwoofer in the
It
back.
Bumps.
Yeah, which again
sounds really
it
good.
adds to the experience. So you got
Yeah.
the good sound system, smooth drive, the drivability. When you to lock the car, you just park the car, you just walk away and it locks.
Just walk
You don't
out.
gotta press a button on the key. You don't gotta turn the ignition.
Can you unlock and lock from a distance?
You can, yeah, anywhere in the world because it's Bluetooth connected.
That's so sick.
Practicality too. I have the Model Y, which is like a crossover version of the
Yeah.
Model 3.
Bigger than the 3, smaller than the X, and it shares like 70%
Yeah,
components.
about 70% of the parts
of the Model 3, which actually helps with production. Anyway,
For me,
it's bigger.
quick brief why I went from a 3 to a Y. My car had nothing wrong with the 3. I just simply wanted a bigger car. I'm 6'5". I'm not a small person.
He's a big dude.
The Model Y is easier for me to get.
We
in and
verified that, Sarah. 6'5".
out. Shout out her. If she watches.
It's another Run Club friend. But you are taller
The
than
Model
most.
3 is low to the ground. It's a sporty
That's
sedan.
actually-
It's hard for me to get in and out. Again, I drive so much. I get in and out of the car constantly.
Yeah, so like
And it's
F
hard.
that. Yeah.
And again, the Model Y is it's easier to get in. There's more space. There's a hatchback in the back. You fold the seats down. I could put
Yeah.
boxes for my work, or
Yeah.
I could put 5.
Speaking of back seat, all 3 seats in the rear have heated seats?
Yeah. All 3.
So you have 5 seats in the car and 5 heated seats.
Yeah, 5 heated seats.
That's
heated
pretty
steering
dope.
wheel.
Heated steering wheel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Underrated feature is
Okay.
in the Model Y. They have a HEPA air filter, like a hospital grade filter.
Weapons,
Bioweapon defense mode.
bioweapon.
Why do they have it? I couldn't tell you why, but it actually works.
No, yeah, they've done. Did you see the video that they?
Oh,
go on.
with the red bubble.
Yeah.
The BMW in it.
So they put a Tesla in a bubble with radioactive material or like harmful material, meaning
It's like red smoke.
yes, and the bubble actually got less red smoke, and there was 0 red smoke in the Tesla or something like that, right?
And the BMW was caked the red smoke, and when they took the filters out, the BMWs was like covered in crap, and the Teslas had like nothing on it.
Wow, that's insane.
But yeah, so that's really cool.
It's also really loud when it's on.
It is, yeah.
Like obnoxiously loud.
But it's really cool actually because like for my business I drive a lot in like City of Industry in downtown LA, which is known for just smelling.
Yeah, smog is not
smog because of all the factories there, the diesel vehicles and stuff. And if I put that on, you don't smell any of it.
Really? So you've noticed it works?
Oh, 100%. Again, it does sound like a big engine.
A gimmick or
no, it's not a gimmick at all.
I meant like
it's very loud, like you mentioned.
Very loud, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pros and cons: practicality. We talked about savings. We talked about the driving dynamics.
Oh, tires. Everyone always hates on the tires.
That's a con. Tires. You go through tires very quickly because the instant torque just rips through the tires. It just kind of makes sense when you're putting instant 100% torque into the tires. You're just wearing them more.
Yeah. Think of a tire having the burden of 500-pound-foot of torque instantaneously.
So with my first Tesla at 135,000 miles.
How many tires?
3 sets of tires.
3 sets.
3 sets.
3 full sets.
3 full sets of tires. I probably would have needed a 4th set a little bit later in the ownership. So I'd say about 35 to 40K miles. And I don't drive I drive spiritedly, but I don't drive super
No, you don't drive obnoxiously.
So again, that's pretty high because in my truck, I've had that truck for, I think it was like low hundreds, and I went through maybe 2 sets.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think my brother, he has a 2013 Raptor, and I think he bought it new in 2013. I think he's only on his 2nd set of BF Goodrich All-Terrains.
Yeah.
So like his first set, I think got 80,000, 70,000 miles.
Yeah.
So
you can get well over 60,000 miles in a normal car, especially if you have like a more economy friendly car. Tires are very not so often, and they're expensive in the Teslas too because they need to have a specific tire tread for the instant torque, and plus the cars are heavier, so it needs to be a specific load.
Is that foam thing real inside?
I personally have gone through a bunch of different tires, and I can never feel the difference. I've gone from Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, the Continental Pro Contact tires that come stock with the Model Y that I have. I've tried. There's new like EV specific tires now that have come out in recent years.
Wait, do you have to use an EV specific tire on EV?
No, you can use anything. I have the Pilot Sport 4S.
Oh, that is a common. I might want to start with that. Most people always say like if you have a Tesla, you have to use Tesla tires. No. And my dad.
No.
Okay.
Tesla wheels are Tesla wheels. Period. I mean, like
the rim. You mean?
Yes, there's
but
nothing.
You can use anything tire that fits on the rim.
You can get any aftermarket wheel you'd like, any size wheel. Obviously, the spacing is different. You can't get my Model Y has 275 with tires in the back. I wouldn't put 325 on them, but you
can use any tire you want.
If you get the same diameter tires,
I'm so glad you said that.
You get a 275, 35 bar, 21-inch tires.
As long as it's the same size, it's fine.
You can get. There's a lot of aftermarket companies. You have T Sport Line. You have RPM Tesla, which is local to Orange County. There's a lot of companies that support aftermarket accessories.
Everyone is always like, "Oh, you have to get the foam and the special," and I was like, "No, you don't." And they're like, "Yes, you do." And I was like, "All right, well, I don't own a Tesla, so clearly I'm wrong." But learning here today, not the case.
Yeah. Back to maintenance. Back to pros and cons. The only maintenance I had to do besides the upper control arm, cabin air filter is what you do in every car.
Yeah.
You can do that yourself. I did it myself. It's very easy. You just pull apart some carpet in the passenger footwell. You buy some filters on Amazon for $20.
Huh.
Put it in there.
Quick process?
Took me under 45 minutes.
Oh,
and I'm not a handy guy at all. I usually pay people to do stuff. Fortunately / unfortunately.
I love that you admit that. What a guy.
I'm not, ladies out there, I'm not handy. I'll pay somebody.
Plug. Instagram down below for this.
Valentine's Day's tomorrow, so.
It is tomorrow. That's funny.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Back to the list. We got.
I'll link your Instagram in our.
Thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Find some love for tomorrow.
We actually have.
If there's any girls on the channel.
Yeah. I think 10% of my audience is female.
Wow.
Roughly.
Must be the looks, right?
Yeah. No. This was very recent. This did not happen years ago.
So to my couple topics I wanted to cover: personal stories, funny things that kind of reflect the EV ownership. Autopilot, big controversy / awesome feature.
We said we were
literally drives itself. It works. You have to know when to use it though. And again, from driving is so much.
What do you mean by that?
After you know the limitations of it. I know the limitations because I'm so used to it. But for a new EV owner, they might just like flick it on and think like they could go in the back seat and watch TV, which is not the case because it's not perfect.
Okay.
What it's really good at is driving on the highway. If you need to go pretty straight to a couple windy roads, going 70, 75 miles an hour, it does it flawlessly.
Now, how about bumper to bumper on the 405? How great is it to have it?
It's extremely great. It makes it so convenient. I mean,
no stress, right?
No stress. I drive a lot for my work. Sometimes I come home during rush hour on the 5 freeway in
not
downtown
moving, by the
LA.
way.
You're literally not moving. But the fact that you don't have to work the pedals and you're not like nitpicking the steering wheel so much, it just makes it the driving fatigue so much less. That's why I can
driving fatigue is so much less.
I can drive so much is that I don't get fatigued because a lot of the times I'm on the highway.
Interesting. I don't think that's talked about enough
Driving
road trips.
Yeah.
Because I found myself. Sorry, I keep on adjusting. These pants are a little tight. I've driven out to Tucson, Arizona, where I went to college, the University of Arizona. It's like not long. It's only 7 hours. But I've also been on road trips where if I'm a little bit tired going in, the last 2 hours or an hour, I am not a good person. I mean, I am ready to get the F out of the car. So when you're doing road trips, that stopping at a charging station and for 20, 30 minutes, you view that as not as bad of a con as people.
The way I look at it is some people might say I could drive 7 hours straight, but most people don't. People gotta pee, people gotta eat, people need to stretch.
It's not safe.
It's not safe.
It's not. Yeah.
Back to the Vegas thing we were talking about.
Okay.
For me to drive to Vegas, I just stopped one time in Barstow, which is about halfway from Orange County to Vegas.
Okay.
I'd stop for 20 minutes. And I can get enough charge to go to
my
destination. And in Barstow, as a normal person, I need to stretch. Maybe I'll go pee. Maybe I'll grab a snack or something. And by the time I do all that, car's fully charged. We went to the football game recently. Remember when
the Chiefs Chargers last game of the season. Also, fun fact: since we went to that game, it was the last season. It was the last game of the season at SoFi. Yeah. Chargers and Chiefs. Chiefs didn't play anyone, but they hadn't lost since. They won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So since we saw the Chiefs, they haven't lost.
I didn't think about that.
Neither of us are Chiefs fans, but I just thought.
So back to what we were saying, we started in Aliso Viejo. Aliso Viejo, and then we went to LA to the football game. We did that in one charge, obviously, and then we did our thing at the football game. We headed back.
And we made a pit stop before my cousins.
We made a pit stop, and then I needed a charge to make it back home.
Yes.
So we were like, okay, it's dinner time. So while we were charging, we went on the Apple Maps, found a local restaurant. We walked to the restaurant while my car was charging, and we didn't even have enough time to eat the food at the restaurant because the car charged fast enough.
Yeah.
So we simply got the food, walked back to the car, unplugged it, just moved a couple spots over, ate our food really quickly, and then headed our way.
Yeah.
So
also, guess what you can do while at a charger station?
Oh yeah, the Teslas have like a feeder mode built inside, so you can watch YouTube, Netflix, Twitch. So a lot of the times during my work week, I'll go eat my prep food or go buy food somewhere. I'll sit in the driver's seat and I'll watch YouTube. My favorite car. Car. Lost my breath.
Is there
car? YouTube channel, Doug DeMuro.
Doug DeMuro, shout out. Actually, if you see my last video, which I'll link below, I bought my M3 off Cars and Bids. So
I was enjoying my Kava today, watching his new Lexus GX video.
Oh, the big SUV.
Yeah,
I haven't watched that.
I love that.
I want to check that out.
I love it. The boxy SUVs.
You know what he does with Cars and Bids now with Kenan, his buddy?
Yeah.
Every Wednesday they do like a live Cars and Bids. It's only like an hour and a half.
Oh,
it's so cool.
Oh, like featured cars and like what they like and dislike about them.
Kinda, but more like, hey, this car and this car is ending. And then as the car is ending on the auction website, they're talking about it. And then they have it on the screen. It is so cool. And then they have like live questions. Mm-hmm. So Cars and Bids, I thought that was a brilliant idea from Doug. And he does it in his like, for lack of a better word, man cave. Yeah. So he has like the Carrera GT behind or the Ford GT5, Ford GT or Countach. Anyway, so that was really cool.
Back to the pros and cons, back to autopilot.
Oh yeah.
On the highway, flawless. On city streets with the full self-driving beta, there's a feature called full self-driving beta where it literally does everything. Turn lefts and rights, and it merges. It pretty much does a complete drive from point A to point B. And it's
on streets?
Yes.
With traffic lights?
It's in beta. So when you're on it,
it's for liability purposes.
Yes, and during the beta, it's like constantly like making sure you're paying attention. There's like there's a cabin camera inside that like watches your eyes to make sure you're looking at the road. It can see if you're on your phone. If you're not holding the steering wheel, it like is
pressure
super
sensitive.
It's super aggressive, which you would want it to be because you don't want to get liability.
There's a lot of videos out there of people doing questionable.
And I've used the beta quite a bit, and it works. But the problem I'm seeing with it right now is it drives like a robot and not like a human. Because a lot of the times it drives too perfectly. It drives based on the books, not how like how sometimes when you're driving, like let's say you're at a four-way stop. Traditionally, the first car at the four-way stop should go. But
correct.
Sometimes
especially to your right.
Sometimes people are paying attention and they're kind of edging forward, or like you're supposed to like at a right turn, you're supposed to completely stop and like creep forward, like. Sometimes in real life you don't do that. People blow through stop signs. They blow through right turn reds.
Okay.
Some people like hug the right side of the road or
whatever. Okay.
The Tesla drives too perfectly, which sometimes affects like
other people's reactions.
People can't predict what the car's doing. Like we were talking about this recently.
Yeah.
If you have a hard time predicting what somebody's going to do, that's almost a hazard.
Yes.
If someone's driving too slow on the freeway, it's a hazard because you're not going with the flow. You're not doing what's expected.
Yeah. My rule of thumb, and especially with my nieces and nephews starting to drive, if you're gonna make a move, commit. Don't just commit. Exactly. It is so much easier to commit and do something stupid than to do something stupid and then not commit.
So back to the autopilot thing. It's, again, new EV owners that just assume autopilot fully self-drives. They'll turn it on. They'll not be attentive. They'll go on their phone. They'll doze off, whatever. And the car messes up. And by the time you could correct it, it's too late. You've already hit a curb, hit a car.
Now, in the defense of the autopilot, have you ever had it potentially save you or break?
Yes.
Many times.
A couple times.
Autopilot scares and saves.
So to continue on what I was saying earlier about the HOV, during rush hour traffic, sometimes the freeway's at a standstill and the HOV's going really fast.
Yes.
And people like to cut in.
Yes.
I've had a couple of times where I used autopilot and I could have been a little more attentive, but I wasn't. And a car would swoop in front of me. And the Tesla's like camera system has like an algorithm how it like bases like when to like do certain things.
Yeah.
And the first millisecond the car started to merge in, it immediately started braking.
Wow.
Like before I even saw it. And
it reacted faster than you even consciously were aware of the situation.
It did a full-blown emergency brake in the HOV lane. Like I went from 70 down to like 35, like in a split second.
Did you need to go down to 35?
That's just what the car did, because the guy was literally like he pulled up. He literally cut me off in the HOV lane because he didn't want to be in standstill traffic.
Whoa.
So that was just like...
So that saved you from a rear end.
That saved me from a rear end.
Wow.
There was another time where I was driving on the freeway, in the middle lane, driving 70, 75, whatever, and a guy decided to cut in front of me, but he was like literally right next to me. He like literally just started like, I was lined up with him and he started turning into me. The Tesla,
so you were like Tesla, this, and he would have
and the Tesla literally started merging to the left. It saw with the camera that it was coming into me and it just moved out of the way. And it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I almost said it.
No, thank you.
And it scared the crap out of me because I'm not used to the car just jolting over. And
but it avoided an accident.
And I didn't realize what was happening, so I saved the footage. The Teslas have dash cams built inside, so you can save footage whenever an accident or an incoming or a potential accident is happening. So I parked the car. I was watching the footage in the car, and I literally saw that the car was merging into me, and the Tesla was just like joink. Crazy. Wow. I was like, wow, like that's what really was again like this.
The tech.
Yeah. It's insane. I mean, I don't know why all cars don't come with a dash cam. I mean, if you're...
I literally was thinking that the other day. Literally, you were like, this is trippy that it was actually hours ago. There was Stradman's Sophia, his girlfriend.
Yeah.
She like posted, anyway, literally you took my thoughts on earlier. Why doesn't every car have a dash cam?
Because the biggest problem...
Even as an option, dude. Yeah. Like, if I would pay $500 or more if I could buy a car and it already pre-wired front and rear dash.
Because in my first Tesla, I had a couple minor fender benders, and the coolest part about those incidents is that I had zero stress going into it because I was able to save the footage from my car. And so all I had to do with my insurance was show them the video saying, hey, this guy clearly rear-ended me at the stoplight, or this person hit and ran me on the freeway or whatever. And
have you ever had someone be like, your fault, and you're like, really?
Yep. I had a 16-year-old girl, brand new driver, hit and ran me on the freeway, and she was calling CHP and was pretty much like, oh, this guy, I swear.
Freak me out. You're good.
Fireplace was
It's
freaking
alright.
out. This girl was like freaking out to the CHP saying, "Oh, this guy did this, and that, whatever." And I literally was at the CHP and I had video footage, and I was like, I have proof showing that this girl literally went straight into my front fender.
No
And
way.
they literally had me on like a duo call with her because we had to like to explain each other's side of the story.
Oh,
And
so she went first, and you're
yeah,
like,
and then
you sure
after
about
the
that?
cops show the video, the cop goes, "Well, based on the video Daniel had in his Tesla, they literally showed that you hit him." And then
So you're 0 at fault?
So she kind of just like was starstruck, and this was back in like 2019, 2020 when again Teslas weren't as big.
Yeah,
as
and also
they are
like
today.
no one knew about Sentry mode.
Sentry
which
mode,
is
yeah,
a whole
the car,
nother thing.
Yeah, it's again the tech.
Yeah, the tech. Okay.
$50,000 for the car sounds like a lot. Again, high performance, gas savings, saves you in
Also-
accidents.
Saves you in accidents, which brings up safety. So the Model Y is the safest recorded IIHS safety
5
rating.
star in all categories.
Yeah, in all categories. The Model X is the safest SUV. Didn't the Model?
I think all the Teslas are 5.
I think it's literally all the Teslas are 1, 2, 3, 4, and
Yeah,
so on.
They're all the highest.
But I always forgot who got the highest. They did a side-by-side comparison with a 5-star Volvo and a 5-star
Yeah.
Tesla, and you would swear the Volvo would be like 3 comparatively.
What
to
really
the
helps the
Tesla.
Tesla make it more safe is that there's no internal combustion engine in the front of the hood. So, like, let's say I rear-ended somebody in an internal combustion vehicle, there's just so much that could implode or cause damage. The Tesla is just a bunch of open space, so it's
Crumple
just
zone.
it's a
It's
crumple
bigger.
zone.
Yeah, so it's better.
And the advanced airbags, the low center of gravity.
Low
so
center
let's
gravity
say
is
somebody
huge.
hits you from the side, you're not gonna roll and tip over
Yeah.
and freaking.
I think the Model X they couldn't even get to
No,
roll
they couldn't.
over.
They
Yeah,
couldn't.
they
They
tried to roll it over and they couldn't
Yeah, same thing.
because all the weight is on the floor.
Yeah, they had videos of like the Cybertruck too, like literally a giant metal block hitting the side of the truck at whatever speed.
Oh,
it
yeah?
didn't even nudge.
Really?
It's just like a 7,000-pound dump truck on wheels. It's crazy.
What? Yeah, I mean Joe Rogan shot an arrow at it. It didn't even.
Yeah.
It destroyed the arrow, which you think is easy, but
So,
no,
yeah.
it didn't.
So
do
yeah,
anything.
autopilot. Long story short, on the highway, great.
I love how he keeps me on track. This is going.
Yeah, autopilot is fantastic on the highway.
Uh-huh.
Be very attentive when you first start using it, because again, like sometimes it does things a little weird.
Yeah.
And you know when it starts to do things weird, because again, it's not a fully finished software. It's a beta. It's always going to be a beta.
Yeah,
Like,
I had an incident when I was delivering a Tesla. It was one of those. So if the freeway is going this way northbound, I would swooping in, and at the tail end of the swoop, there was actually a curb, like just like a normal curb on the street.
Yeah.
The Tesla was so close to the curb, but it didn't notice the curb. Again, this is 2018.
Yeah.
I had to take over of the
Yep.
full self driving, which is fine because, like you said, I've also been in the opposite end of like I'm not aware of the car stopping in front of me.
Mhm.
So.
Last funny story I will say, famous autopilot story where I fell asleep behind the wheel.
Oh yes, I'm so glad you're ending on this. This is
We're
the
gonna
best.
We're gonna end on this.
This is the best ending.
Back in the
Floor is
early
yours.
ownerships, about a year in, I had a late night out in LA, and I was driving out of Manhattan Beach.
Not drinking, by the way.
Just a late night.
late
Out. It was
night.
about 1 in the morning. I was in
drinking.
Manhattan Beach, and I was driving to Costa Mesa. It's about a 40-minute drive. I was just cruising along, doing my thing, and it was late at night, and I was absolutely exhausted. Rather than spending the night at where I was or taking a pit stop on the side of the road, I just decided to drive, and all of a sudden I caught myself starting to close my eyes on the road. I ignored it. And, you know, I literally fell asleep, and I woke up, and I passed Costa Mesa, and I was in Irvine, which is more south of Costa Mesa.
By actually like 10 miles more.
And what was really scary was that the car just kept going. It just literally was changing lanes, merging off and off. Like I merged from the freaking 405 to the 5 somehow.
Which is not an easy merge, by the way.
And it was just, I remember waking up and I like literally had a heart attack because like I just had a realization.
Sorry for laughing.
I was like, how am I alive? I was like, I literally went from Manhattan Beach to Irvine in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Blink of an eye. I was dead asleep.
Did you, like, when you came to, did it take you a moment to be like, wait a second. Like, am I nervous?
You know what's funny? I was passing the Spectrum. And I was looking around, I was like, wait, I should not be here. I am supposed to be in Costa Mesa. Why am I at the Spectrum?
Oh my God.
And then I had a moment, I was like, holy crap. I was like, I literally just fell asleep for 25 minutes in the car. And what was funny too is I mentioned the car like nags at you when you're on autopilot. My hand was resting on the wheel while I was sleeping, so I was kind of like this. And my hand was kind of sitting like this. Crazy.
That is
And after
insane.
that moment, I was like, dude, I felt like a complete selfish a-hole, essentially, because I was like, I am pretty much putting a bunch of people's lives on
You're very
on
kind.
the line.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if the car screws up, I'm dead asleep. I could hurt myself or hurt somebody else.
You could do some damage.
It's not cool. So
Wow.
don't fall asleep behind the wheel, people.
Yeah, that's.
If you need to fall, if you're tired on the road, pull over, get a hotel.
Speaking
sleep
of
in the car.
about fatigue and all that, so great video, dude. Good job, dude. You're freaking natural at this.
Should we do an outro or no?
You do an outro. You lead the way.
Let's do an outro.
You're good at this. Go
All
for
right,
it.
guys. Tesla ownership right here. It was such a fun time doing this podcast with you. It's my second ever podcast. First one in this more like casual setting. The first one I ever did was like really staged, and it was kind of nervous because I had like these lights on me and this prop and stuff. This was very laid back. I honestly kind of just felt like I was just talking to a friend, which we kind of did, and you guys were listening. So again, this guy's pretty cool. I've only known him for about 6 months, but great car content, personable guy, and have a good day, guys.
Thanks.
Peace.